Some nights, I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on me. The bills are piling up, the phone keeps ringing with more demands, and my mind races with endless worries. I find myself reaching for my purse or checking my bank app, desperate for a sign that somehow things will turn around. And in those moments, I realize I'm not alone. I've watched others go through the same cycle, struggling, praying, pleading, like somehow begging the universe would just send money if I could only get more desperate. That urgency becomes so overwhelming, so intense, that it feels almost like a need to scream out loud to be heard. It's as though the only way to get what I want is to scream loud enough, to push hard enough against the feeling of scarcity. But I've learned something recently, a revelation that shook me to my core. That chaotic, frantic energy I carry when the money isn't enough, the hope that if I just ask hard enough, it will suddenly appear, that's blocking me. I didn't realize that the very emotion I was pouring into my pleas was creating the opposite effect of what I wanted. Instead of opening the flow of abundance, it was shutting it tight. I was like a drowning person clutching at a life raft, trembling with panic, desperately trying to stay above water. I kept asking for money, asking for help, asking for relief. Yet the more I asked from that place of desperation, the more my financial situation felt like it was spiraling out of control. It was as if my plea was answered by the universe with silence, or worse, more chaos. And then, one night, I saw it clearly. Everything shifted when I paused and asked myself, am I coming to the universe with the energy of trust or the energy of desperation? It's such a simple question, yet it cut through years of noise and doubt. I realized that I'd been approaching my desires through a lens soaked in fear. Fear that I wouldn't have enough, that I'd be left behind, abandoned, powerless. That feeling of scarcity had become my default setting. But what if I approached money with a different attitude? What if I believed, truly believed, that I didn't need to beg or plead? What if the key wasn't in the loudest cry, but in the quiet conviction that what I want is already mine? That thought made me pause. I started to wonder if I'd been doing it all wrong. If manifesting wasn't about forcing my way through the chaos, but about steering my inner world to a place of calm and clarity. It's hard for many of us to accept, especially when the world around us screams of lack and limitation. It's hard to believe that our emotions, our feelings, what we really feel deep down, are the true magnets guiding our reality. I used to think that wanting was enough, that simply asking with enough desperation would attract abundance. But I've come to realize that the actual magic resides in how I feel during the process. It's about matching the vibration of what I desire, not pleading for it from a place of panic. Sometimes I catch myself still slipping back into old patterns, suddenly overwhelmed by a new bill, a late payment, or an unexpected expense, and the familiar feeling of helplessness creeps in. I get caught thinking that if I don't press harder, ask more loudly, or scream a little louder, nothing will change. But deep down, I now know that those frantic energies are what keep me stuck. Somehow, I've always believed that manifesting money was an act of desperation, an emergency that requires frantic prayer and pleading, when in reality, it's the calm, confident, steady sense of trust that actually opens the floodgates. What I want you to understand is that if you're still trying to manifest wealth or abundance only when the pressure's on, when everything's falling apart or you're overwhelmed, then you might be inadvertently blocking what you truly want. I've been there. I know how powerful that feeling of panic can seem, almost like a survival instinct that refuses to let go. But what if you could flip the script? What if manifesting from a place of calm, gratitude, and certainty could turn everything around? I don't have all the answers yet, but I can tell you this. The next time your situation starts to feel chaotic and desperate, ask yourself, am I coming from a place of trust or fear? Because, I promise you, the difference is like night and day. This journey I've been on isn't just about money. It's about shifting from the energy of needing and begging to an energy of receiving and feeling deserving. And I want you to know it's possible, no matter how tight the circumstances, no matter how loud the doubts. Because if I've learned anything, it's that the moment I relaxed, shifted my focus, and started feeling gratitude for the abundance already on its way, everything changed. The flow opened. Things started aligning in ways I never imagined possible. So, I'm inviting you now, right here, right now, to reflect on your own journey. When do you manifest the most easily? Is it when you're in peace or when you're in panic? That's the question I want you to sit with, because the answer could be the key to unlocking everything you desire. Remember, your power isn't in how loud you scream or how desperately you ask. It's in how much faith, calm, and positive emotion you bring to your manifestations. And I believe that once you start to see that shift, your whole life can change, fast, effortlessly, and beautifully. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast lake at dawn, the surface mirror-like, perfectly still. The moment you start to toss stones into the water, ripples cascade outward, distorting the calmness momentarily, but then gradually returning to an unwavering silence. Now, picture yourself as that calm, tranquil center. Your thoughts and feelings are like the water's surface. When anxiety bubbles up, it's like throwing a heavy stone, causing a disturbance that obstructs clarity. Conversely, cultivating inner peace is akin to the lake's quiet state, inviting clarity, harmony, and natural flow to return effortlessly. Delving deeper into this analogy, realize how the persistent insistence on forcing circumstances mirrors trying to reshape the water with your hands while it's turbulent. You can thrash and strain, but unless the agitation subsides, the natural flow remains blocked. When I reflect on my own experience, I see how moments of frantic effort, demanding solutions, obsessively checking accounts, or desperately wishing for change, created more turbulence in my financial landscape. It was as if my focus on the problem itself intensified its presence. The more I tried to manipulate the situation through sheer willpower, the more resistant it became, akin to stirring choppy waters that refuse to settle. Now, consider what happens when I adopt a calmer approach, focusing on steady breathing or simple gratitude. The ripples settle, and the surface becomes still again. In that stillness, new possibilities often emerge unnoticed in the chaos. It's not about passivity. Rather, it's recognizing that genuine breakthroughs often come from surrendering control and trusting in the natural unfolding of events. When I let go of my desperate attachment to immediate results, a profound shift occurs. Opportunities begin to appear in subtle ways, like faint reflections shimmering on the quiet water. This clarity reveals options I was blind to amid the turbulence. Furthermore, embodying patience transforms the relationship with financial goals from one of tension to one of harmony. Think about how some of the most successful people I know didn't manifest overnight. Their journeys often involved periods of uncertainty, where doubts lingered like fog. Yet, they quieted their voices of fear, focusing instead on positive feelings of achievement and appreciation for what they already possessed. It's important to realize that emotional alignment acts as a magnet, pulling what we desire toward us with less resistance. When I practice surrounding my daily routine with positive emotion, be it excitement, gratitude, or trust, I send out signals that invite abundance with less effort and inner struggle. Drawing from this, it becomes clear how crucial emotional resilience is. When negative thoughts creep in, I've learned to treat them like shadows that momentarily obscure the light but can't extinguish it. Instead of entertaining doubts or despair for too long, I acknowledge them, then gently shift focus to what I prefer to experience. This act of recalibration is powerful because it's less about suppressing feelings and more about consciously directing my awareness. It's similar to steering a boat. To reach a desired destination, it's often necessary to adjust the rudder and steer away from turbulent waters. Small, deliberate shifts in mental focus can lead you onto calmer, more prosperous currents. Another essential perspective involves recognizing that the flow of abundance doesn't flow on a set schedule dictated by impatience. Sometimes, the more I push, the more resistance I encounter, like trying to fill a leaky container. Conversely, when I loosen my grip and genuinely accept that things are unfolding exactly as they should, the leaks begin to close, and growth accelerates naturally. Life often has its own rhythm, and timing is less about forcing outcomes than about aligning myself with that rhythm. Patience, then, becomes a vital act of trust, believing that what's meant to arrive will find its way to me at exactly the right moment, in just the right form. This realization shifted my entire relationship with money. I no longer chase fleeting results or fixate on what's missing. Instead, I nurture a steady conviction that abundance is an ever-present, flowing force, an eternal current I can effortlessly swim in when my focus remains aligned with feelings of adequacy and gratitude. Recognizing this, I began to see opportunities everywhere, hints, signs, small steps, and understood how vital it is to stay centered when circumstances seem uncertain. It's in those quiet moments that the greatest shifts happen, as my mind becomes clear enough to see options that previously went unnoticed. Building on this, I invite you to reflect on how you respond when life throws unexpected challenges in your path. Do you reaffirm your trust, or do you tighten your grip and resist what's happening? When I learn to surrender, I notice how the tension dissolves, allowing fresh ideas and insights to emerge, like dawn's first light piercing through a thick fog. Allowing space for calm and composure doesn't diminish your power, it multiplies it. The secret is in embracing stillness as a powerful catalyst for transformation and understanding that aligning your feelings with what you most desire creates a natural, irresistible pull. That's where genuine change begins, deep within, beyond the noise of external circumstances. Now, consider how this mindset influences your everyday decisions. When you're anchored in serenity, your choices come from clarity rather than confusion or panic. Instead of reacting impulsively to setbacks, you develop an ability to pause, breathe, and assess what truly matters. This shift in perspective provides an additional layer of power because it transforms the act of decision-making into a deliberate act of creation. If every thought you hold is rooted in calm confidence, your actions automatically align with your desired outcome, setting into motion a ripple effect that attracts opportunities effortlessly. Think about how often we enter a state of turmoil believing that stress adds urgency. We convince ourselves that worry will somehow speed up the process, but in truth, it creates resistance at a visceral level. When I used to operate this way, I would see my plan stall exactly when I felt most pushed, almost as if the momentum was being sapped by my own tension. Once I learned to detach from that reaction, by consciously choosing to release resistance, I saw doors swing open where I once perceived closed walls. Confidence doesn't flourish amid chaos. It emerges from serenity, allowing clarity to shine through the noise and connect dots I couldn't see before. Furthermore, when you start to distinguish between reactive and intentional mental states, a whole new realm of growth opens up. Thinking from a place of steadiness invites intuition, that quiet whisper inside that guides you toward what's truly aligned. Instead of chaotic scrambling, you begin to trust the subtle signals, an unexpected phone call, a fleeting idea, a sense of peace, that indicate the next step. In this space, opportunities flow in ways you might never have planned or imagined because your focus isn't scattered across worries, but curated through calm observation. It is here that inspiration becomes a daily compass rather than just a fleeting moment. Another pivotal shift occurs when you recognize how consistent emotional regulation rewires your brain's wiring. Neuroscience has shown that responses rooted in stress reinforce neurons associated with fear, scarcity, and limitation. Conversely, cultivating feelings of gratitude, joy, and assurance creates pathways that prime you to see abundance everywhere. The remarkable part is that these mental highways strengthen over time, making it easier to choose positivity even when circumstances are less than ideal. I noticed that after repeatedly practicing calmness, my mind no longer defaulted to panic at the first sign of difficulty. Instead, it withstood pressure and sought creative solutions, because I trained it to associate ease with progress. Building on this, it's vital to understand that comprehending the significance of emotional states extends beyond individual success. It ties directly to how you influence your environment and the people around you. When you project a sense of unwavering confidence, others mirror that energy. Your words carry more weight. Your presence becomes magnetic. More importantly, your level of calm acts as a stabilizing force in chaos, inspiring those nearby to adopt a similar outlook. This, in turn, creates a collective momentum that multiplies the effect of your intentions, an expanding field of positivity that draws in even more support and opportunity. Now, I want you to think about how often you carry the weight of past failures or future fears into your current situation. These mental remnants act like anchors preventing you from moving freely. If you remain absorbed by worries about what if and what could go wrong, Your vibrational frequency becomes tethered to limitation. But when I choose to disentangle myself from these mental weights, by acknowledging them without judgment and then shifting my focus, I give space for a fresh perspective to settle. That space is where new options emerge, where solutions appear as if from thin air, often prompted by an inner clarity that was buried beneath layers of doubt. This deeper foundation provides resilience, especially in moments that challenge your patience. When setbacks occur, instead of spiraling into frustration, pause and ask if your focus is rooted in a desire for security or in a steadfast belief that everything unfolds perfectly in its own time. The difference is profound. The first leads to a cycle of desperation. The second cultivates an unwavering trust that no matter how long it takes, what's meant for you is already being prepared. It becomes a matter of aligning internally so that external results seem to fall into place naturally, almost invisibly. The more you practice this anchored calm, the higher your frequency elevates, and the quicker manifestations come into view. In the end, this shift in consciousness fosters a sense of empowerment that isn't dependent on external conditions or fleeting circumstances. By nurturing inner harmony, you create a fertile ground for ideas, resources, and relationships to blossom without forcing outcomes or struggling against resistance. Every moment becomes an opportunity to choose your mental state consciously, an act that, over time, rewires your experience from one of chaos to one of harmony. When confidence becomes habitual, opportunities become inevitable because your mind is no longer searching anxiously for signs, but present with a receptive heart, open to receive what's already in motion. That's the true essence of blossoming growth, living in a state of peace so deep that abundance flows to you effortlessly. One subtle yet powerful realization came when I observed how often I associated prosperity with struggle, believing that effort and exhaustion signaled genuine progress. I used to think that the harder I pushed, the closer I was to manifesting what I needed. However, this mentality keeps me tethered to a cycle of toil without true fulfillment. Shifting my focus to effortless flow requires grasping that true abundance isn't earned through relentless striving, but attracted through a sense of ease. If I compare this to tending a garden, overworking the soil in desperation doesn't produce the richest crops. Instead, nourishing it with patience and gentle care invites growth naturally. Something I came to understand is that allowing abundance to arrive involves relinquishing the illusion of control I believe I hold. When I set my intentions and then release attachment to specific outcomes, I create space for magnetic forces to do their work. Suppose I'm trying to attract financial resources. Obsessively fixating on the amount I need tends to magnify experiences of scarcity. A better approach might be to cultivate a mindset of open receptivity, visualizing myself in a state of gratitude, trusting that opportunities will emerge without force or coercion. This shift resembles dropping a heavy weight I've been carrying, freeing my posture, and paving the way for movement I couldn't accomplish under tension. Now, consider how this principle applies during moments of uncertainty. Often, I find myself clutching at strategies or revisions, wanting desperately for a breakthrough. Instead of insisting that I must figure everything out immediately, I've learned that surrendering details brings surprisingly more clarity. It's comparable to waiting for fog to lift before trying to navigate. When I stop trying to control every twist and turn, peaceful insights reveal themselves naturally. The nervous energy dissipates, and calm guidance takes its place. That calmness creates an energetic environment receptive to signals that might otherwise be drowned out amid agitation. Furthermore, cultivating detachment from specific expectations reprograms my mind to recognize opportunities one previously overlooked. Imagine, for a moment, a bird perched silently on a tree branch, content, alert, receptive. Its serenity invites a gentle breeze, shifting the branch just enough to bring new fruit within reach. Attaching attachment to how and when something should manifest constrains that flow. Releasing that rigidity opens a more expansive horizon, where possibilities appear in ways I hadn't assumed possible. Often, just easing the grip on outcomes allows the natural timing of events to align with my desires, almost as if everything is set in motion by unseen currents I trust implicitly. Another profound aspect to embrace relates to my internal dialogue. Negative self-talk, disguised as concern or realism, acts as a barrier that reinforces limitations rather than dismantling them. I observe how frequently I catch myself muttering phrases like, "It's impossible," or "I'll never have enough." These words embed a hardwired resistance into my subconscious. To shift this pattern, I've adopted affirmations that reinforce a sense of worthiness and abundance, shaping new neural paths. Engaging in consistent mental reframing rewires my perceptions, making it easier to recognize subtle signs and opportunities when they appear. Validating my inherent value and believing that prosperity is within reach becomes a core belief rather than a passing thought. In addition, I've discovered that feeling aligned with future success requires an intentional focus on joy, even in small moments. Imagine an artist working on a painting. It's not the final stroke that determines the masterpiece, but the passion and excitement they experience while creating. My feelings act similarly. If I can evoke genuine happiness during my day, regardless of external circumstances, I tune into a frequency that aligns with abundance. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect, but about consciously choosing to find beauty and gratitude amid chaos. When I do, I notice that solutions surface more effortlessly, and I attract resources that match this elevated vibration. Finally, cultivating a perspective of abundance involves recognizing that true wealth expands beyond material possessions. It encompasses a sense of fulfillment, peace, and connection. If I constantly chase after possessions or status, I risk missing the richness that exists in simple moments, meaningful relationships, and personal growth. Changing my focus from external accumulation to internal richness shifts my energetic blueprint, allowing prosperity to flow inward and outward with less resistance. The realization emerges that abundance is created first within, an inner state of confidence and gratitude, and then reflects outwardly through situations that mirror that inner harmony. When I remember to nurture this internal wealth, manifesting becomes less of a battle and more of a natural, graceful dance. Reflecting on this journey so far, I realize how interconnected these shifts truly are, like threads woven tightly into a fabric of understanding that quietly transforms the way I see and experience life. It's as if I've been gradually awakening to an underlying current running beneath chaos and apparent disarray, an undetectable force that, with gentle nudging, guides everything into harmony. Every insight about calming the mind and fostering gratitude, about choosing resonance over resistance, cumulative in creating a more expansive consciousness I hadn't accessed before. It's as if I've been living within a landscape of limited horizons, only now beginning to glimpse the vastness that lies beyond, and this revelation sends ripples through my perception of reality itself. Imagine a river receiving tributaries from multiple sources, each stream bringing nourishment, clarity, and vitality. Individually, they seem insignificant, but together they coalesce into a powerful current that reshapes the terrain. Such is the effect of embracing internal peace and aligning with a sense of abundance. I see how these collective understandings carve new pathways into my subconscious, gradually washing away the obstructions that once seemed immovable. There's an unfolding sense that the universe operates like a wise gardener, tending to our mental and emotional landscapes with patience and precision, nurturing growth precisely where resistance once thrived. The realization settles deep. Genuine change flows not solely in response to circumstances, but springs from a refined internal state that acts as an invitation, a quiet declaration of readiness. It's an energy that engages unseen forces, aligning my intentions with the natural order of giving and receiving. The tension I once believed necessary to attract prosperity now appears as an unnecessary weight, an obstacle that prevents effortless movement. Instead, I learned to harmonize with the rhythm of life, allowing, trusting, surrendering the need to control every detail. And that trust begins to anchor itself in my daily existence, transforming every moment into an act of co-creation. This process reveals that the true power lies in precision of thought combined with the subtle art of emotional nuance. The landscape of possibility shifts when I understand that my inner dialogue acts as a channel for divine energy to flow through. Each vibration I emit creates a magnetic field drawing aligned experiences closer. As I become more conscious of this, I recognize how fragile the boundary is between the states of resistance and openness. Tiny shifts, like aligning my posture or adjusting my breath, serve as catalysts, opening gateways that previously seemed closed. These seemingly minor adjustments accumulate, shaping the environment around me and within me until a new reality begins to materialize, one that feels more authentic, more in tune. With each moment I choose to foster calm and gratitude, I notice a quiet revolution happening within, an awakening to perspective that reframes struggle as an unnecessary detour rather than a prerequisite for growth. This deeper awareness transforms the way I approach challenges, not as insurmountable barriers, but as opportunities to practice patience and faith. It feels like tuning a musical instrument to the correct pitch. Once aligned, everything resonates with a vibrational harmony that amplifies every small step into a powerful momentum. My mindset becomes less reactive and more deliberate, a fertile ground ready to receive whatever abundance I now understand is already present, waiting to be acknowledged. As I connect pieces of this puzzle, I see how each insight supports the next, creating a holistic outlook that encourages me to shed the layers of doubt and urgency I had clung to for so long. They all converge toward an understanding that doing less internally often results in attracting more externally. It's akin to a sunflower turning effortlessly toward the sun, naturally orienting itself toward light that's always available, yet sometimes obscured by clouds of uncertainty. Moving into this realization, I sense an expansion, an openness to trust in the unseen mechanisms that work tirelessly to bring desires to life. I can feel how this sustained awareness acts as a foundation, anchoring me amid fluctuating external conditions, making the entire manifestation process not only simpler, but profoundly more enjoyable. And so, these ideas swirl within me, not as isolated truths, but as a collective energy that hints at a more fluid way of experiencing abundance. One where surrender, trust, and harmony take the driver's seat in shaping the course of my life. This awakening invites a new perspective, that true mastery involves aligning internally well enough to allow what's meant for me to find its natural path. It's a gentle dance, one I'm learning to move with rather than against, knowing that the power to shape my reality resides less in force and more in the delicate art of inspired receptivity. As I deepen into this understanding, a sense of anticipation grows, not of struggle or effort, but of effortless alignment with a life that's already waiting to unfold in its own perfect timing. There comes a point in this journey where everything clearly comes together, like a symphony reaching its crescendo. I realize that the deepest shift isn't about chasing after external rewards or ticking off a checklist of things to do, but about fundamentally aligning my inner state with the flow of life itself. It's as if I've been guiding myself through layers of illusion, thinking that effort and strain were the only routes to success. Yet now I see how true power lies in surrender and harmony. Suddenly, the universe feels like a vast, intelligent force waiting patiently for me to step into alignment, not because I demand or force, but because I relax enough to let it unfold naturally. In this space of clarity, I notice how resistance dissipates, revealing that obstacles I once perceived as insurmountable are often simply illusions woven by my own doubts. When I loosen my grip on outcomes and stop trying to control every fragment, an effortless opening appears. My attention shifts from fixating on what's missing to appreciating what I already am. This shift in perspective acts as a magnet, drawing in the opportunities best suited to my growth. It's almost as if the universe has a way of responding to the subtle signals I emit, an internal dialogue of trust that quietly guides external circumstances into alignment. The feeling of being part of something larger than myself becomes undeniable, a recognition that I am an active participant in an ongoing dance of creation. Throughout this journey, I've come to see that true fulfillment is rooted in a sense of wholeness I carry within, an awareness that abundance is not a destination, but a reflection of inner harmony. When I stop seeking validation outside myself, I begin to experience a profound peace that permeates every aspect of life. That tranquility acts like fertile soil, naturally nurturing seeds of inspiration and possibility without needing to chase or overthink. Opportunities tend to appear in moments of stillness, often disguised as simple signs or gentle nudges that I might have overlooked before. Trusting in their significance becomes instinctive, because I've learned that life whispers its greatest lessons softly, expecting me to listen, not to scream or plead. This understanding influences not only how I approach my goals, but also how I embrace setbacks. Instead of resisting setbacks as failures, I see them as necessary parts of a larger unfolding, lessons that refine my capacity for resilience. Each deviation creates space for new insights, gently guiding me toward paths I couldn't have predicted. I notice how my emotional state acts as the compass for these insights. Calmness invites clarity, while agitation clouds perspective. Choosing calmness in the face of chaos strengthens my resolve, grounding me in a truth that I am always supported. Without this grounding, it becomes difficult to discern the subtle signals guiding my journey. But once I cultivate that centeredness, obstacles feel less like barriers and more like signposts pointing me toward growth. In those quiet moments of reflection, I see a pattern emerge. The process isn't about forcing conditions into place, but about tuning into the frequency of what I desire. Once I align my internal vibration with my intentions, the external world begins rearranging itself accordingly. I realize that the pursuit of external achievements often distracts from the more vital task of cultivating a peaceful, receptive mind. When that inner calm becomes the foundation, it acts as a catalyst, drawing in resources, inspiration, and support from unseen realms. Suddenly, everything feels simpler, more intuitive, as if I've stepped into a flow that's been waiting for me all along. Now, I carry this message with me, knowing that the greatest catalyst is a conscious choice to seed positivity and release struggle. It's about recognizing that my true power stems from an inner coherence I can invoke at any moment. An unwavering belief that I am worth all that life offers changes everything, instilling confidence that is unshakable despite temporary setbacks. Walking this path consistently, I realize the only true limitation is the stories I tell myself about what's possible. Breaking free from those narratives allows my life to unfold with a grace I once thought impossible. So, I invite you to see your circumstances through this lens, that every lesson carries an invitation to deepen your connection with your own essence. As you cultivate a sense of calm and trust in the unfolding process, you activate a force greater than effort alone. Remember, the universe responds to the energy you emit from the core of your being, and in doing so, it orchestrates situations designed to elevate your experience. Stay patient, remain receptive, and trust in the ongoing rhythm of life. Your greatest manifestation is already on its way, waiting quietly for the moment you surrender to the natural flow of abundance.